Dentistry isn't about financial gains for me anymore as it was at the start. Obviously, we know we need to earn an income, we need to support our family, friends and ourselves, but actually seeing the result of a case that you produce after many months or weeks and then seeing the outcome on that patient, for me, that's rewarding for me. I love that. I was an orphan. I came from several homes. The background was a bit disruptive. I sort of had several bad experiences. You yourself have to decide what you want in life. I was pushed into good places in the end, and that's where I am now. I'm going in a good way.
So what drives you now?
Become a better version of myself than I was yesterday. I want to be the best version I can to myself, to my people around me, the clinics I work in, and also to the guy that encouraged me when I was young. He's not here with me right now, but I want to make him happy.
Wow. This was a special episode. We're joined by Dr. Riaz Sharif, an amazing dentist who had a rollercoaster of a journey, fighting tooth and nail to overcome adversities to become the person he is today. A story of resilience, persistence, and proof that your situation doesn't dictate your future. Growing up as an orphan and falling into the wrong crowd, Riaz decided to make a radical change and pursue dentistry abroad. His journey was long, spending 12 years in university before finally qualifying as a dentist in the UK. Now, he's been a finalist in the Private Dentistry Awards and is fulfilling his long-time dream of being a private dentist. There are lessons for everyone to take from Riaz's story, so without further ado, let's dive into the episode.
Welcome back to Season 2 of The Young Dentist. I'm Afif.
And I'm Fahim.
And today we're joined by the exceptional Dr. Riaz Sharif. Riaz, for any of our audience who don't know you so far, who are you?
Well, I'm Riaz. I'm a young dentist. Recently qualified, about 3 years now. Qualified abroad in Budapest. I'm working currently in Bournemouth as a private dentist. So yeah, I've got a lot of things to say, a lot of stories to tell. So let's get this going.
The first question we always ask Riaz, right, is so that's who you are, right?
Yep.
The follow-up is always, let's get deep. Why are you? What's your purpose now? Why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? I've only recently realised why I do what I do, and it's actually to give back to people. Dentistry isn't about financial gains for me anymore as it was at the start. Obviously, we know we need to earn an income, we need to support our family, friends and ourselves, but actually seeing the result of a case that you produce after many months or weeks and then seeing the outcome on that patient, for me, that's rewarding for me. I love that. And I feel like that drives me more to become better, upskill and also enhance who I am already as a guy and as a dentist. It's that for me brings me happiness in dentistry, and I feel like it pushes me more and more. We all have dark days in dentistry, hard days in clinics, but those are the days that make me keep going. I feel.
So Riaz, you're now an award-winning dentist. Everyone knows who you are on social media, right? A massive social media following, an industry-wide acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Talk us through how you came to where you are now, because I understand you had quite a difficult beginning, right?
Yeah. I mean, my start in dentistry wasn't really predetermined. I had no interest in the medical field. I didn't even know what dentistry was about, or even medicine. You go to, I was raised in London, in East London. I was an orphan. I came from several homes. The background was a bit disruptive. I kept going though, I sort of had several bad experiences. Obviously with those you learn, you keep going. Your trials and tribulations become your outcome, don't they? They make you become a better person if you want to become a better person. So I was going down that negative pathway, picking wrong things in life. But actually, I had a few people around me, who pushed me in a good way. And fortunately, I was able to come across situations where I could shadow dentists and see what the whole career was about. So yeah, I started to do that, and that's where it sort of led bit by bit into, thinking, all right, this seems like a good career, stable, financially good. What can I get from it, and how can I get into it? Really, coming from my background, yeah.
I mean, going back to that background for a second there, I mean, being an orphan in London and having bad influences around you, I mean, that isn't an easy thing to overcome, especially to get to where you are today. Like, what was that environment like? Did that have an impact on you?
It was the whole environment, the whole situation wasn't, you're in a home with different kids. You don't know what you're doing. You're told to do different things, man. And suddenly out of nowhere, you're told to go to a different place. And a different place, and there's no structure to who you are or what you're doing. As a young kid, you just go with it. You think, all right, cool. Where's the next place I'm going to? You don't form attachments to these places or people, or the homes. So you keep going through life like that without realizing your sole purpose. As a kid, you don't know what you're doing anyway, do you? You just want to go and see what happens and have fun. But I feel like in normal households, the parents, they sort of influence their children, or in a good way, and sort of push them in a good direction. But I never had that. I got involved in a lot of criminal activity. My reputation was terrible. I look back and think, what a little shit. Going through bad places and stuff. But hey, you yourself have to decide what you want in life, and I think and that also is your external environment. I was pushed into good places in the end, and that's where I am now. I'm going in a good way.
Love to see it. So you mentioned good environment, outside influences. Can you talk us through how you could recognize good influences and give us some examples of maybe who those good influences actually were?
Yeah, so I met a lot of people on my journey, but I can only pick out probably about one or two. All right, a lot of them were bad. They're bad people. A lot of them good, but there was one, I mentioned it in a lot of my articles that I've written and previous podcasts and stuff. I would say there's one person out there, or that one influence, or that one something out there that is your driving force. Whether you're having a dark day, that you looked upon it and think, what, I want to, whether it's someone who's passed away, someone in your life, your parents, you want to please them. This guy for me was one of my foster fathers, called David. I'll get a bit emotional about it, man. But he passed away. He was my best friend. He passed away about a few years ago now. But he looked at me with a lot of hope and a lot of that I could become someone. He was always looking at me like, Riaz, you messed up again. He was picking me up from police stations and taking me out, trying to sort me out, man. I wasn't, but I always respected him. He was actually having a lot of treatment done at Guy's Hospital, a lot of cosmetic work. So obviously, he was always taking me down. Now, come and sit with him.
Dental work?
Yeah, dental work. Yeah. Okay. So he was, Riaz, I've got friends in Harley Street also, and if you want to see what they're doing, pop in and take a look. So, he'd arranged for me to pop in there for, these weeks. I was only about 16, 15-year-old, I was a young lad. I was more involved in going in there and stealing stuff rather than, shadowing a dentist. But actually, I took interest in what they were doing. I was thinking, wow, this guy makes a lot of money, very well presented, respected. I thought, what, this looks like a career that I would like to see what could happen. And, the next stage was, I had no education. How do I go about doing that? I had no A-levels, I had no GCSEs. My whole past history was there. I had nothing to show on paper for who I was. That was the next situation. So he encouraged me to go back into sort of a fast-track A-level GCSE sort of idea, like a school. I collected a number of GCSEs and A-levels in the end. I don't know how, in a few years.
Over how long?
In a few years, couple of years, about a year and a half, I did it.
Okay, so 18 months.
Yeah.
GCSEs and A-levels.
Yeah, I did a lot.
How was that like?
It was intense, Luckily, I'm quite academically switched on, so I can open a book and absorb things quite fast.
And did you discover that when you were doing that?
Yeah, I didn't know that until then.
Wow, okay, it's a good thing to realise.
So
I want to pick on something there, because you said something really interesting earlier.
Yeah.
You said that you can, even in that environment, you can be good if you choose to be good.
Yeah.
What was that turning point for you?
It was seeing people around me that were doing the wrong thing and not getting anything out of life. I was, as a young kid, I was always curious about, how does this guy afford that car? Or how does that person afford that lovely suit that they're wearing? I'm sitting here with old hoodies and tracksuit on, I got even barely $5 in my pocket, and I want to be at that guy's age one day, and I want to have that flexibility, and I want to have those options open to me. But how do I do it? I don't want to be this sort of guy who's not doing well in life. So you have to have it within you to want to achieve more in life. And I always say that to even in people with A-level students and university graduates and stuff. Even when you come out of dentistry and you're dentist, you still have to want more to be better. It's not about becoming complacent and just be like, doing your 9 to 5 and going home. You will have no job satisfaction with that. You have to want more.
So what drives you now?
What drives me now? Become a better version of myself than I was yesterday. I want to be the best version I can to myself, to my people around me, and to the clinics I work in, and also to the guy that encouraged me when I was young. He's not here with me right now, but I want to make him happy.
I was gonna actually ask you about that. Do you feel like it's almost like a responsibility on you to give back at this point?
No, it's a responsibility for me to do something that my birth mother and father couldn't do. You know, I don't know who they are, but they were raised in London. They raised me in London, in Hackney. I went in straight into a hospital, got an orphan straight away. But what I know about them, they did everything they could up to that moment. And you know, a lot of people would pity themselves and think, you know what, I'm this sort of person. I wasn't gifted the right cards in life, but actually, you're still existing. You're on this earth. You're here to do something, make a difference. You know, you're here to make a massive change to people's lives. And we're fortunate as dentists to do that. Yeah. So I want to make her happy, whoever she was, as my mother, my birth mother, and my dad. You know, and just I'll never meet them, but whoever they are, at least I'll know that I did what I could do as their son. And also for myself, it's all about, you know, you got to do it for yourself. So you look in the mirror and you think, you know what, I'm doing good. You know, I'm helping myself and I'm helping the people around me.
Well, let's talk about that turning point then.
Yeah.
I mean, you realised that you can do more, and you decided, well, I've got no education. Let me fast track my way through the GCSE and A-level process. What was that process like for you?
It was stressful. You know, I didn't really like. You know, it's like someone saying to you, right, to become a dentist, you need 5 A stars or whatever it is nowadays. How the hell do you get 5 A stars? You don't just do a course and get it. I mean, you have to do everything. It's like a huge hurdle, isn't it? 1,000 hurdles to get there. So I was, you know, I had all these books given to me, and you know, you go to the course centres, and the course director gives you this, and you know, you have to do that to get to that. It's all prerequisites, isn't it? So I was bombarded by all this information, all this money. I had to pay. But I did it. I sat down. I thought, you know what? This is what I do nowadays as well. Like, I don't take on 1,000 tasks. I sort of make it. I strategize what I need to do first to get to number 2, to get to base B, to base C. Otherwise, you become overwhelmed. Even in dentistry, you can't just take on a huge case. You have to sort of segment it and break it down to get the end result. So I did that when I was younger. You know? I always had that sort of strategy.
I'm guessing that was quite instrumental for your success now as well. When you're dealing with hard cases, you can look back and thought, I got through that.
Yeah, I mean, I look back now and you know, your stress your management of stress becomes more. You know how to deal with situations like that now. But also, you know, even outside of dentistry, you know, you need to look after yourself too, your minds. And for me, that is fitness. I've been doing that most of my life. It's always grounded me as a man and as a young boy. You know, every day I need to get into the gym. I need to do something. You know, I was boxing for many years. You know, that's my outlet of, like, you know, to make myself feel better. I can't give to people if I don't feel good myself. Yeah. And I always say to dentists too, like, you're sitting on a chair for hours a day, going home. You know, then you have to, you know, be emotionally available to your family. But how are you going to be, you know, what about yourself, man? Like, you need to look after yourself too, to have that longevity of a career. And so I think, like, realising this early is you know, you get the rewards later on, don't you?
So Riaz, you're quite a big guy. How many years has it been in the gym for you?
I started training when I was like 10 years old now. But yeah, I was sitting there, you know, I saw people around me, like, I started lifting these baby weights. And then, you know, where I was living in Hackney, there was Bethnal Green boxing gym around East London. So I was boxing at York Hall. Some amazing trainers down there. You know,
from the age of 10?
Yeah, I was young, man. Yeah, I was young.
How was that like? I assume you were one of the younger people.
Yeah, I was a young little boy there. Yeah, but a lot of the lads there treat me like their family, you know, which was, for me, that was also quite nice for me, because I felt like I belonged somewhere. I didn't feel like I was lost, you know. I thought those guys were like my best mates. Obviously, they're a bit crazy, getting into problems and violence and crime, but, you know, at the same time, I was learning a discipline, which was a sport that I still. It's kept me disciplined to date, you know.
So boxing in the gym for you has been something which has been constant.
Oh yeah, even you know, if it's not competitive, you're still training, you know. And if there's fights that do come up, opportunities, I'll train towards it. And you know, other than that, it's weightlifting. You know, pushing yourself daily. You know, not just ego. It's about going in there, and it's my meditation. It's my safe place after I do work all day in surgery. Then I go home to my family. I'm happy. You know, I'm calm. I'm like, you know, I feel good. I've done good work. I'm good today.
I love it. So you mentioned boxing fights. Have you had any fights?
Yeah, I had a good amateur record. So I had about over 70 fights now on the card.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, I lost a few, but you know, you win a handful too. But that was my card level, man. That was great.
70 fights.
I think I came like third runners up in junior ABA's amateur boxing association fights in London. Yeah, so I had a great record.
What about the hands though? The dentist.
I've got delicate hands. I've never been battered.
Fractured wrists?
Yeah, fractured my wrist, broke my nose a few times, dislocated my jaw, had to relocate. Yeah, had a lot of issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it affect your clinical practice now?
What's that?
Does it affect your clinical practice?
No, it doesn't actually. No, I mean, I'm very, very gentle with. You know, you learn this as you go on, don't you? You know, with surgery and stuff like that. I mean, you think like big hands aren't really operative in surgery, but they are. You work around it.
Brilliant. So let's talk more about how you got into dentistry then, because I realise that wasn't a smooth journey for you either, right?
No, it wasn't at all. No, I mean, as we all know, that expectations for grades nowadays is exponential. How hard is it to get in? It's so hard to get in dental school. Yet there's a deficiency amount of dentists that are, in the UK. I don't get it. But yeah, got my grades, like I said to you, from Birmingham. So got like BBD in the end. Got into biomed, done that degree. I just still didn't get into postgrad dentistry.
How was biomed degree for you?
It was alright. It was good. It's a 3-year degree. Mm-hmm. You get your bachelor's of medical science in the end, and obviously a lot of people who don't directly get in from A levels into they go down that sort of route. That's one option. Mm-hmm. So I thought I'll follow the sheep. I'll go down that route and do that. Wasted a lot of money on student finance again. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really get nothing from it.
You didn't enjoy it?
I liked it towards the end because I was in the biomedical material science department, which is actually on the 8th floor of the dental hospital. Okay. So a lot of my friends were actually dentists too. Mm-hmm. So this was also a huge encouragement for me to, think, oh man, all my mates are smashing, like they're walking around with their nice coats on, their boxes, they're looking sick, like I want to be like them one day, and they're going to come out in 3 years and graduate. I'm still got to do their 5-year degree still, and they inspired me a lot too. So I did have also at that level a lot of good friends who were my motivation. So we were in the top floor, the 8th floor, doing our sort of courses like dental materials and stuff like that, all that sort of biomedical stuff, and they were like down there doing ortho, prosthetics, cosmetic, conservative, all that sort of stuff. So
all stuff you do in the few years' time. Right?
Yeah, that motivated me. Every day I was thought, I'll be doing that soon. I'll be here.
Awesome. So the long-term play after biomedical
was to hopefully get back into dental school in Birmingham. That was what I wished for. Okay. Postgrad in Birmingham. I was in Birmingham dental school anyway. Yeah. It never happened. Mm-hmm. So fortunately I had a friend in the previous year. He went to Budapest. Mm-hmm. So he was in the second year dentistry in Budapest. Mm-hmm. So it was an international university. He was doing really well. He said to me, like, Riaz, our degree will be valid. Here's the admissions department, here's the examinations you can do, to entry exams to get in. Did all that. Started my first year in Budapest that coming summer in September.
So had you been abroad much before then, or was it like kind of...
No, I literally had no idea where Budapest was. You see it on the map, you're thinking, all right, you've heard of it somewhere, heard of it like full of stag. I know that there's a load of lads do like their stag do's there. It's a bit rowdy and stuff, but I was like, okay, I'll go there and see. Yeah. But landed at the airport, came out, I was like, where am I? Like this isn't nice, man. Like the buildings are rough. It was all like smelly. It was like I didn't understand English around. People were muttering in there. But actually, I didn't like it. I hated it, man.
What was that first week like?
That first week was tough. It was really hard, man. You don't know no one there. You feel lonely. I was also married at the time, so I was married to. So I left my partner. I was doing this long distance thing. Trying to. My motivation then was thinking, right, cool, I'll do 5 years and go back, and I'll be, I'll start working. So that I was managing that too. There's a lot of things, man. It's just obviously it's all taught in English, so but their concept is very, very intricate and detailed. So their anatomy and their physiology, it's very, very detailed, and it's all oral exams. So there's no written documents. So you go to an exam, and you have, for example, like 3 or 4 professors on the panel. And they're firing questions at you, and you're thinking, shit, man. I'm like 18. I'm only young. Like, and it's hard. Yeah. And they will fail you instantaneously if you don't answer something right, and you've got to come back and spend another thousands of pounds a year, like in the next semester. Wow. So that was hard for me.
Imagine that. I mean, you're there. You've left everything that you've known behind here in the UK. And you're sat in front of this panel, and you're like, if I don't answer these questions...
Honestly, it's so hard. And I was used to like paper-based exams, in biomed, and you go there and it's like they give you like a topic list. You're supposed to study the topic list about a month before you do exams, and you book your exams online. You roll up there 8 a.m. after studying all night and months and weeks and stuff, and they were like, I'm so sorry, Riaz, you failed. And it's like, a lot of people failed their first year in dentistry and had to repeat a year, or repeat second year, or repeat third year. Okay. So you can imagine the amount of money you're in debt by now. Yeah. It's all private funded too, so this isn't like loans that you can pull out the bank, man. This is like, this is money you put aside to do that. For those examiners, it is a business.
Which year was it that you failed, by the way?
So I got to my final year in Budapest, and I failed my last exam. Yeah, it wasn't that as well. There's a lot of issues were raised around that last exam. I don't want to go into detail about it, but it was the issue was that I couldn't repeat that last exam for certain situations. So they dismissed me. Yeah. So I got all my friends were literally a week from graduating, and and there's me, like, I can't even. I had a meeting with the directors of the university, and everything went downhill, man.
That must have pushed your
It would literally just ruin me. Like I thought,
must have
all
pushed your
this
soul.
hard work and effort. I was like, oh man, like, what's going on? That was one of the worst like stages of my life. I felt so shit, man. I was just like, well, luckily I was working, so the money that I was working as a gym trainer in Budapest. So
was that throughout your whole degree?
Yeah. I was doing that quite routinely to get money and stuff. But I sort of went back to the drawing board. I thought, what, this comes back to who I am. I don't ever give up. My perseverance is like, I'll find an issue, I will overcome it. There's nothing that I feel like is impossible. So I thought, what, let's salvage this. There must be a way to, I collected all my credits from Budapest. It's a European credit system or something like that, and you can sort of transfer it to another university and then collect and then continue and qualify. There was one university that allowed this in the whole bloody world. And that was in Slovakia. So I went to a small city in Slovakia, near Bratislava. Managed to finish it 4 more additional years. Done that, and yeah.
So now you're 12 years in university.
Yeah, so I was like, so you're looking at a lot of years later.
It's dedication.
Yeah, man. Like
I
I just kept on seeing the end result. I was like, the thing is, when you become so involved in something and you become so embedded, deep-ended, you're like, I just need to finish it now.
Yeah.
And then I finished it, qualified in 2021.
Awesome.
During COVID, so it wasn't even anything extravagant. It's like I had to go and collect it from the office, go home on a bus.
It must have felt good.
There was no ceremony. There was nothing like.
Anticlimactic.
There was nothing, man. Yeah, I was like, wow, this A4 document is literally and I had to wait like another 5 months for the GDC to register me, and I was like, wow, this is all it was. This is all it gets. But that's with any sort of goal. Isn't it? You hit a goal, you're like, wow, man, is this all it was? But then that's why I think we need to recreate goals and keep them going. Otherwise, you just lose. You lose momentum in life, don't you? That keeps us all alive.
So Riaz, you've seen the Birmingham curriculum in the UK, and then of course, you mentioned the Slovakia curriculum, and also Budapest or Hungary.
Yeah.
What do you think the main differences were in the way you were taught? Of course, you had oral examinations. Any of the differences in student life, perhaps? Yeah,
student life. I mean, as a student, we all want to have fun. If we're living abroad or living away from home in the UK, or living, that's part of university. I feel it evolves you into a specific character, and personalities evolve, and you meet lovely people along the way. And that's what it is. It's that work social balance. You need to have that as a young dentist too, or a dental student. You can't just be so consumed in a book, and have no hobbies and no social life. Get out there, meet people, learn about them. Who are they? Take on new hobbies, find interest in different things, like activities like sports. Do it, because that's gonna make you an all-rounded person in the end. Someone of interest. And actually being that person going into clinic, your patients will find you interesting. They'll be like, you got a lot of stories to tell. You got a lot of things to talk about. Rather than just open your mouth. What can I do for you? Whatever. They want to know who. I find that patients like to know who their dentist is on a personal level, for them to trust you, and that it's important. I feel you need to build a rapport. But yeah,
if you were to go back now, would you do it all again?
Yeah, I would. I would do it all again. I would do it all again because I learned so many. I wouldn't be the man I am right now, sitting in front of you, or with all this to say and all these advices and whatever I've got to contribute to this. Yeah, I would do it all again. Yeah, I would do it in the same way I did it before. Yeah, because I took out so many. In the moment, it's horrible. You go through it and you think, oh, shit, man, is this? Or you have a good time, you think this is amazing. But that makes you an all-rounded person, doesn't it?
What would you say the highest point was then, Riaz, in your education journey from, let's say, GCSE levels straight through to Slovakia graduation? The highs.
It's the moment they told me I passed my last examination, my state exam in Slovakia.
How did that feel?
Yeah, it was anticlimax, like you said, because they were like, congratulations, Dr. Riaz, we'd like to say that you've completed. In my mind I was, wow, I spent 12 years for this moment. Like, is this all it feels like? Like you say, it is like that. But you think, but luckily I was forward planning my next steps. So I was like, well, all right, cool, I've got that. That feels amazing. I'll celebrate. You got to celebrate every win.
How do you celebrate?
Huh?
How do you celebrate?
Yeah, I don't go out and get pissed off. It's more like just, I get, if your friends around you have seen your journey, I want to be around them. I want to be around people who've been with me, and seeing my shit, and we've all made it. So I had people around me to celebrate with, something small, but you know what, the next day, back on the game again. What's next? What am I doing? How am I moving forward again? Yeah, but yeah, like you got to celebrate every small win as a dental student and as a dentist too. It makes us, it's important.
Very interesting again, because one thing that I got from that story
Yeah.
was that even when you were at your lowest,
Yeah.
multiple times in your life, you got up and thought, okay, what's next? What do I need to do
Yeah.
to recover? What's
Yeah.
next? Because I get a lot of dental applicants who speak to me and they say, look, I'm not gotten in. Just yesterday, there was a student who was like, I just reapplied.
Yeah.
I didn't get in again.
Man.
What should I do? I mean...
You keep, you in those situations, you keep on applying. You find the reason why you didn't get in. There's always a reason why they didn't like you, or they didn't accept you, or you weren't meeting the criteria. You know, it's like even, you know, for example, if you didn't win a dental award, why didn't you win that award? There must have been reasons for why your application wasn't, you know, looked at in that sort of way. So find out the reason why. Maybe even drop some emails to the judges or to like the clinical administrator at universities and find out what was wrong, and then work on it. Like find, like, you know, what was it? Okay, 10 points. This year I'm gonna make sure those 10 points are fully cleared. I'm gonna be the best at those 10 points. So next year I'm bulletproof. I'm gonna get in very easily. Yeah, that's the mentality. If you can look up, you get up, right?
Yeah.
You don't just sit on the floor, do you? You keep going. And that's the, you know, a lot of young people, they should be doing this. They shouldn't be giving up or falling on plan B. There is no plan B for me. There's just plan A. You know, plan B does not exist. And, you know, I see myself doing like bigger things and, you know, helping and doing. Yeah, that's the only plan there is.
There's no other option.
There's no other option, man. That's why, I don't know, that makes you a successful person. I'm not as successful where I want to be right now. I'm running at like 20%. But I've got the mind that I know every day I go to bed, I know what tomorrow I've got a plan of action. I ain't going to wake up thinking that I've got nothing to do. I've got shit to do.
This message has been brought to you by Colgate. Now, you already know Colgate for their toothpaste and oral care, but what you may not know them for is the massive amount of support that they provide dental professionals, helping educate and empower the next generation of dentists to boost their career. Now, as dentists, we all know the importance of CPD in developing clinically. The recently launched Professional Education Hub by Colgate is a centralized platform and one-stop shop for all things verifiable ECPD related, filled with bite-sized videos, webinars, articles, and more. From leading clinicians, you can develop your career and obtain verifiable ECPD from the comfort of your screen. The amount of value is insane. With an ever-expanding catalogue of content to choose from, there's something for everyone. Visit www.colgateprofessional.co.uk to sign up and register now. And now, back to the episode.
I guess the question is, what were you doing the 5 months between graduation from Slovakia and getting GDC registered? What are you doing that 5 month window?
You know what, this is where the research component comes in. Fortunately, I had loads of dental friends in Birmingham. I had a lot of dental friends here and there who are doing really well. I had people I looked up to in the dental industry. You know, you all know the top people on Instagram or whatever. And I looked at their sort of stages of their path, and I thought, you know what, there's things that you can pick out. You know, what courses did that guy do to get there? How did he win that sort of thing? How, you know what I mean? I was researching courses. I was looking at things, you know, ways to when I could start these courses. I was looking at, you know, what clinics I could work at. You know, I was picking my sort of, you know, the way I wanted to do things slowly. You know. And
so when you became GDC registered, Riaz, did you go straight into NHS practice for a year to do foundation training?
Yeah. So this is when you qualify abroad, you can't just walk into a VT post in the UK easily. This is the thing. I knew about this before I started dentistry abroad. So you have to get a mentor. That mentor has to sign you off. You have to get a NHS performance number, and then you can see, you know, if you're competent enough and confident, then you walk into private and take on private work. So I found a practice in Poole, in my dentist in Poole, and a great mentor there. So he showed me the ropes. You know, I learned a lot from that practice. Still currently there. So they're a brilliant team, and he's a great mentor. So I picked up a lot of things there. It's your bread and butter, isn't it? You know, you have to do your NHS work before I feel like you dabble with more detailed private dentistry. So I predominantly do private now, which is, you know, I love what I do in terms of that aspect. That's what niched in on certain areas that I naturally love, you know. So that.
We'll get more towards becoming a
definitely.
specialist in a second, or a special interest. But
Yeah.
talk us through, how long were you in the NHS for, and do you think you could provide a good quality of care on the NHS?
Yeah, I mean, I started with a UDA's. I think it was about 5,000 UDAs a year contract. It was you don't really know what the hell that even means when you start. You're like, oh, what does that mean? How long? How did I achieve that? You did a treatment plan with Band-Aid for like one, and you're thinking, bloody, I've got 5,000 more to do. And then obviously they do this sort of cut-off point when they claw back. I was like, oh, this is too much, man. So obviously I had to do it because that's part of the process to be where I want to be. So then you're doing your kinds of work. You're doing. I was doing for like 2 years. I was doing that, 2.5 years. And obviously with that came a lot of experience. I would do these private courses, like these composite courses, these oral surgery courses. I even started my year-long postgrad diploma. But those skills you learn there, you chuck it into your NHS dentistry. You make that filling look aesthetic. Why make an anterior, filling look, just chuck, put effort into it, make it look, put in the line angles, polish it, make it look good. Because the patient doesn't know what it's done, but that I implemented some skill that I did that day. But your fillings and stuff at the back, you incorporate a lot in NHS dentistry. Obviously the money isn't as great, but it's your bread and butter, and you need to do it. Yeah.
What was the thing that shocked you the most about starting to practice dentistry?
It was the patient's expectations, and I feel like that's providing good quality work, and hoping that the patients will actually come to you because they expect good quality work. I feel like as a dentist, that's the pressure we have. You're sitting there, you feel like you can take on a case, and it's like, will this patient be happy afterwards? They're paying so much money, especially private dentistry, and that for me was, I was worried, if I don't perform, will I get a complaint? Is it right what I'm doing? Do I know not enough? But over time you overcome that, and you look at a case and you think, I'm going to do this to the best, and I know that I can do it, and but you don't over give the patient high expectations. You tell them what you probably could achieve with a result, and you do your best.
So oftentimes we get told that the most important skill in dentistry is communication. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. Communication is rule number one in dentistry. If you can't, I feel like that is a huge component of dentistry that isn't basically managed well in university. You do your basics in dentistry A to Z. You know what you're doing. You walk out in the real world. But actually, how do you? You're a salesman. You're a businessman. You're an arts. You're a craftsman. You got. But also, you need to be able to speak to your patients in a way that they trust you, with a bloody drill in your hand, and also with thousands of pounds they're giving you, and also the longevity of that, that work that you do for them. It lasts. It doesn't just break off, or it doesn't fail too early. They need to trust you. Talking to your patients they need to also feel warm around you. Giving off that aura that you're kind. They look at you with trust. They trust your options that you give them. And you're a good, fair, honest dentist, and also reputation comes into that, and you build that over time as a private dentist, don't you? But yeah, community is essential. Yeah.
What can you do as a student to improve that skill, do you reckon, communication?
What's that, sorry?
What can you do as a student to improve your communication skills?
As a student to improve, I think taking more time to talk to your patients. Find out who they are. What they expect as what they expect in the work, if they've gone, if they've been elsewhere, and what sort of, who they are really. And normally, I always spend about 10-15 minutes chatting to my patients. I do, and obviously making them laugh is essential, and obviously then you start breaking it down to the nitty gritty dentistry. All right, this is the plan. Appointment 1, appointment 2, appointment 3. This is what we aim to do, and and obviously they find trust in you, and that's it.
I see.
Yeah.
What about practicing dentistry? What has it taught you about yourself that you didn't realise before?
It's taught me that I can be very, I want to provide to people. I want to give back to the community. I get a buzz out of giving a patient a mirror, and seeing that satisfaction that they have on their face. It's something that you don't see in dental school. But when you complete this, 10 composite veneer case after straightening, whitening, bleed, and then everything is there as a final package, and that patient looks at their teeth after weeks of treatment, and that for me is amazing. That reaction hopefully is good. But that overcomes any financial gain for me, like I said, at the start. It's giving back to people that I didn't know was a component of dentistry that you can get a buzz out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, I mean, tying into that is what you said before about learning from other people, right? Looking at this person, what they're doing good.
Yeah.
But then I want to ask you about the flip side of that. Do you think that almost could trigger some sort of imposter syndrome as well?
Yeah, it can. I mean, like even now, you know, you can be you can network with a group of dentists, and you feel like you don't belong there. Because I feel like, you know, my start in dentistry wasn't what they had, or, you know, we all have different upbringings and, you know, pathways into dentistry. We all have different interests, but I feel like I have imposter syndrome now, but you know, I don't feel intimidated. I don't, you know, by a dentist who is more senior than me. Like he can sit in front of me and have the most, you know, every single bloody letter after his name, you know, have years of experience. But I'll be like, you know what, you inspire me. I want, you know, if you're someone who I want to be like, I'll be like, what was your pathway? What shortcuts could I? No, what paths could I take, you know, to become or to be the person you are, you know, and to be that great dentist sitting opposite me.
Did you ever feel that when you first came and first started practicing?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that to any extent, the imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, naturally, as you know, your first weeks or months or even a year, you still feel like, man, I don't feel like I'm competent enough to pick up a drawer and do something well. But that's where you actively have to sort of feel, all right, this is my weakness. How can I improve it? You know, and what courses around me can I invest in to improve my skills, so I can walk in the following weeks and months and provide better dentistry. You know, that's where you have to actively work on yourself as a dentist, because it's not going to happen naturally, is it? When you close your eyes at night, you have to know your problems and be self-critical about your flaws.
So how would you recommend someone to go about reflecting, and by extension, how can you apply those reflections into the real world and improve clinically?
Clinically, yeah. So, you know, as dentists, we some of us, you know, we all encounter complaints, you know, and I feel like a lot of young dentists are very fearful of receiving a complaint from, you know, or even the GDC becoming involved. And it's one of the things that I read up as a dental student. I was like, oh my god, shit, man, this could happen. I'll be sitting there, you know, on the GDC website thinking about it, looking at the latest sort of cases. I'll be like, oh man, I don't want that to happen to me. You know, but actually, those complaint procedures, or, you know, I've had a few. I'm hands down, I've had a fair few, and, you know, at the start of my career, and they've moulded me into who I am now. Because I'll go home, I'll beat myself up, but I thought to myself, why do that now? Actually, this went wrong, that went wrong. I need to take my, you know, look at myself and like, Riaz, you know, that's your weakness. You messed up, man. Like, work on that. If you didn't do that, that would have happened. You know, you took on that case without even having any sort of knowledge how to do it, or, you know, you didn't follow the right criteria. Your notes weren't correctly written, or, do you know what I mean? And you go back the next day and be a better version of yourself. So you need to look at yourself and critique yourself a lot in dentistry to be better.
And when it comes to upskilling, you mentioned the postgraduate course. Do you want to go into that journey and what you've done to improve as a clinician after the reflections? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you know, you come out of dental school, and I feel like, you know, you get this, you know, your first salary you get is, you know, oh my god, this amount of money, I want to spend it on expensive things, you know, I want to buy a watch, I want to, you know, invest in, get a finance in a car, whatever it may be, but actually put your foot on the brake, you know, at least invest your money into your career, because the reward, you know, 5 to 10 years down the line will be way better than the initial start. So I always say to myself, like to people around me who are young dentists, get a few things, invest in a postgrad degree, you know, get a good set of loupes, and get a good camera. You know, how are you going to advertise your work on social media if your quality of your pictures aren't good? How's your work going to be good if your loupes, you don't wear loupes? You know, and also advertising your work on social media is important. But yeah, I did the postgrad diploma with Dr. Monique Vasant last year, so that was amazing. Yeah, it changed my dentistry a lot. Yeah, it has. Yeah,
Changed dentistry.
Yeah, it's changed my dentistry, the way I do dentistry a lot.
How so?
In terms of, you know, you look at the nitty gritty details, and you think, wow, they didn't teach me that in dental school. Like, I don't know how to use a camera that way. I didn't know how to do, you know, certain sort of procedures that way. And it's like, wow, you look at dentistry with a more aesthetic eye, you know, and, you know, it's worth investing in.
Would you say it caused you to fall more in love with dentistry?
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah. And obviously, if you do more private dentistry, you know, you feel more competent doing it. You know, you feel like you've got the skills and the overall package to walk in, you know, to work the next day and do it, because you feel like you've been in safe hands and by whoever's teaching you. So,
Understood.
yeah.
So you mentioned the private dentistry, right? How was the transition like from NHS to private? And did you always envision private dentistry being the end goal?
Fortunately, I started doing when I started at my dentist. I started doing a few private cases. They would chuck into my diary a thing called My Options. So that was My Options private patients. So it's all NHS, and you get about 3 or 4 private dentist patients. I'm like, well, okay, cool. They'll come in. Obviously, they're paid a bit more money for that. So, do you know what's weird? You think, all right, cool. I've done about 5 NHSs, and at the end of my day, I've got 3 privates. All right, I'm gonna try and be a bit more. I don't know why. It's a weird persona, but you feel like I want to deliver a bit more emphasis and effort and skill, and because you look at how much they're going to pay for a denture or a filling compared to an NHS filling, you're like, shit, man, I need to perform. But I'm going to keep calm. I'm going to learn what I did all these courses and try my best. So yeah, I was lucky enough to, in my first few years, to be doing those cases, to eventually have a book that is all private.
Fully private.
Yeah. So that's
Awesome.
obviously later on. I want to open my own private surgery in the next coming years. So yeah, it does pave the way for that to happen.
I see.
You need to take the leap a little bit and take on private patients to see how it is.
And I would have to ask then, what is the main difference between the NHS patient and the private patient in terms of the quality of care you can deliver?
Yeah, it's a time. Private patients we're allocated more time to spend with our patients. And we pay with NHS. I didn't like the fact that I spent so many years in dental school, and then to then spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes on a bloody examination. And I'm not a robot. I want to deliver optimal dentistry effectively and efficiently with care, and I want my patient to come back to me, not just like I'll come in, check up, okay, you need filling, bang, finished, goodbye, or perio or this or that. No, with private, I loved it because I can sit. I love to talk to people. I love to know who they are. I love to know why they come to see, what they want in life and what they want with their teeth, and what their expectations are. And obviously with that comes the work and the reward of seeing them come back to you every 6 months. So I like that, and obviously the financial aspect is good too. You put in that much time and effort, you're going to get rewarded with it financially too, not just a happy patient who leaves with a smile. So I think it's rewarding, but I feel you need to balance it with it.
Yeah.
Do a bit of NHS, do a bit of private at the start.
Talking about rewards and what you get out of the profession, I want to ask you, what does success mean to you?
Success means to me, what does it mean to me? It means being a better version of myself than I was yesterday. So, being able to provide, for myself and also for my family and people around me, but obviously, with that, just being a better version of myself, really, and seeing what my flaws were and working on my flaws and not being, criticising myself in a positive way that makes me want to go back to the drawing board and be better. For me, that makes me successful bit by bit. It's not a sudden jump, is it, to be successful? You gotta work on the steps, step by step. You work your way to the top. I'm nowhere near where I want to be right now, but I know the sort of pathway I need to do to become successful. And with that, I want to bring everyone up around me. I want to see people around me being successful. That makes a successful person successful, helping everyone around him. And I feel more people should be doing that in dentistry, not just jumping on top of each other, trying to be the best, and I'm better than you. No, why do that? Just help each other out. If that dentist needs a hand, help him. It's just what it's about in this world, man. We've got to help each other. Yeah, that's for me is success.
I see. So you mentioned there, Riaz, over the past 2 years, you've kind of niched down into certain parts of dentistry. For you, maybe more cosmetic work.
Yeah.
What kind of inspired that decision? Was it something you had a natural inclination towards, or what made you?
I was always into art growing up, so I loved.
Oh, yeah?
I was very artistic when I was younger, so I knew about that when I was.
How would you practice art as a kid?
I just loved drawing cartoons, and I was just I like building things. I love building computers,
Really?
And, yeah, people. My friends around me didn't know that, but I had a very nerdy character about me, so I was sort of. Going to PC World, I would actually rob the components, and what is the matter, man? I had no money, so I'll go in there, steal all the components, the motherboard and the PC and the CPU unit. I just go home and sit there all night building this bloody motherboard with all these flashy lights, and just, I loved it. But I loved creating things basically, and it sounds silly, but as a dentist, you create things, don't you? You create beauty and art in your work, don't you? So that's why I love dentistry as well.
And for you, it kind of always takes channel that energy or express that
Yeah,
artistic side.
you express yourself through your work, don't you, as dentist? So that's
Mm-hmm.
why cosmetic dentistry and restorative dentistry is more. You're building things. You're recreating nature, aren't you?
Wow.
And in your work, and that's why I love aesthetic dentistry.
Awesome.
It's and also the look of it and the patient's reactions. It's going from something to something amazing, isn't it? It's improving what they already had.
Love
So
it.
that's what it's about.
Awesome. So Riaz, from 17 with no GCSEs all the way through to 12 years university to where you are now. You said you're only 20% of where you want to be.
Yeah.
What are the next decade or two hold for you, and where do you see yourself going?
I see myself, having a big impact in the UK dentistry scene. I wanna change I wanna make it more positive. I feel there's a lot of negativity surrounded with some of the topics in dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
I want young dentists. I want them to feel more confident walking into dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
And things like that. I like to have my own practice eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously before that, I want to be. You have to be put in the work to be recognised and known. I don't feel like you can walk into open a practice and it just bloom. And obviously with that it comes with. I like to also be mentoring and lecturing people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I feel like I've got a lot to contribute and help people.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be on that scene eventually too.
So you mentioned topics, right? What key topics do you think are not addressed in dental school or in education really, or even in dentistry as a whole?
Yeah, dentistry as a whole. Managing stress management. I feel why is there no seminar on stress management in dentistry? Why there's no concept about hobbies or actually other than the topics we talk about in school, the clinical stuff. You guys should be doing this to relieve the stress and depart from dentistry. Also communication, how to communicate with your patients effectively to prevent complaint procedures happening. How to sort of, encourage ethically to sell to patients, large sum of, these big expensive treatment plans without feeling like, oh my God, because honestly, the first time I sold a huge treatment plan to a patient, I was embarrassed. I was like, well, I'm about to say this denture costs like £2,000, whereas I sold one on the NHS an hour ago for £317. But you have to overcome that, and you need to be able to learn to overcome that with speech and confidence, so it's a couple of things, It's important. You need to give off a warm aura to your patients, and that comes with, working on communication, just being yourself. I feel like being yourself is your best asset.
Yeah.
And also creating your own unique identity in dentistry. Don't just go and copy someone. Find out who you are first of all in dental school. Who are you as a young dentist? And then go when you have your first day in surgery. Just be you. Just laugh at your patients. Be who you are. It works so well.
How do you actually do that? How do you find out who you are?
I found out. People told me don't get tattoos. Don't do this. Don't say that. Act a certain way, but. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be who I am with respect to my patients. I'm not, I'm gonna go in there, be charismatic. I'm always loud. I'm always laughing my head off, and actually, patients vibe off it. They love it. And patients, honestly, they leave my room always laughing. My nurses are laughing. The people around me that's what I'm about, though. I don't want that patient to come in with a gloomy face and leave with gloomy. I want them to be happy. So but that's my unique style. And that's what I want to be at. I feel like your patients have to relate to you. If you're going to be doing dentistry on younger patients, who want, predominantly want this sort of aesthetic sort of stuff, which they see on reality TV, on TV, they want this sort of big, white, bright smile. They're going to be in a category between this age group, right? They want to relate to you. They want to be come into a room and feel like, this guy looks cool, this girl looks cool. I trust them with my teeth. They've got nice teeth. They're obviously skilled. They're professional, but they're also like me. They're also relaxed and happy. Not just making me feel intimidated.
So when it comes to kind of establishing your presence and your authority in the space, what can you do as a student to set yourself apart? I know you've written articles, been on many different podcasts and the like. What kind of young dentist or dental student do to break onto the social media scene, as it were?
Do things outside of dentistry too. Obviously, contribute to do some voluntary work in dentistry. Do things as maybe even blog your day. I don't know, just don't. I don't try and jump on trends, I don't try and jump on the whole TikTok thing. I just literally, if you see my profile on social media, it's not just categories of one line is like this, one line is like it's very generic and very sheep-like for me. I feel like showcasing who you are also as a dentist, you know, your lifestyle, what you do, your hobbies, even, you know, if you like cooking, do some cooking, like, you know, videos. Like, it's fun, isn't it? Obviously, things shouldn't be shown on social media that you don't want to be shown. You got to be, you know, relevant to your patients. You know, obviously your work's important too, your reviews. You know, but I feel like as a young dentist, just at university, there's so many opportunities to do things outside of dentistry too. You know, but yeah.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice that we've not discussed so far, what would that be?
A bit of advice, it'd probably be to not be so hard on myself. Yeah, like I was always growing up, but I was always so hard on myself. I was like, Riaz, you fucked that up, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. Oh my God, you're useless. But you know what? Those are the inner voices that I heard when I was growing up. And like as a young man, you realise actually that's why I do these things. So yeah, don't be hard on yourself as a young dentist. Like if things are you know hard, then find a way to make them easier. You know, get the mentorship, get the you know, read the books, go do the courses to make yourself more at ease with the problems. You know, just don't be so hard on yourself. Things will always work out at the end.
I see.
It's like year by year you'll progress and be a better version. That's it.
Understood. So you also mentioned stress management, something you're quite passionate about, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to moments where you're quite stressed, you can be very hard on yourself. How would you recommend a student to kind of manage stress alongside university?
I'd say like, you know, prep for your exams. Don't, you know, I'm that's a bit hypocritical because I was a last minute person, but you know, even now as a young dentist, like, if there's something coming up, I want to prep for it before, you know, or if you make sure your time management's well. Make sure you're organised in terms of your exam dates. Make sure you know what you're doing before that. All right, have a diary, you know, or you know, I like to have a diary where I know what I'm doing. And next day, I like to have a to-do list. What am I doing tomorrow? I'm not just waking up aimlessly without a plan. I want to know who I'm doing, what I'm doing, what I need to sort out. So you know, even start young though. Even university is the best time to sort of, you know, find things that work and find things that don't. You know, also find out who you are yourself. So what works best for you. But work on your time management. Prepare for your exams before they happen. You know, and that will actually allow you to open up more time in your day to do other things. So you feel like a lot of students. When I was at university, a lot of students were like, "Mariaz, you're massive. Like, how do you fit in the gym? How do you eat well? You know, you're busting out these like pre-made meals and stuff. And how do you go into that after show boxing? You know, whatever it may be." I was like, because I've got time. I created time in my day to do it. You know, I still sleep well. Tomorrow's exam is still going to be prepared for. You know, I'm still making money by doing that. I had a job at university the whole time. You know, I wasn't sufficient. All my life, I've never relied on anyone for money. I've had to work myself every day from when I was young. I had no mum giving me money. I had no dad giving me money. I had no bank loan. I've done everything myself. But that humbled me now as a young man. Because I'm not arrogant. I just want to tell people that it's possible, you know.
I see. So Riaz, you mentioned the word man quite a few times. Let's go a bit left field. Can I ask you the question, what do you think it means to be a man?
I think it's stepping up to responsibility. You know, we can't always remain in the mindset as a young boy. You know, I'm still growing as a man. I'm not a fully grown man, but in my mind, I'm like, every day I'm developing. You know, I'm not the boy I used to be. You know, I've got responsibilities, I've got commitments, I need to shop to work and provide, you know, for my patients, and, you know, I need to grow and be better every day. And, you know, I think all of us still have that little boy inside us. Yeah. Yeah, man. And I feel like that should never leave us, because that's who we are. You know, as guys and as little, you know, we've got a younger version of ourselves in us, and that's always going to be there.
Awesome. I've been Afif.
I've been Fahim.
He's been the young dentist. Thank you very much, Dr. Riaz.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.